तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा 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 तेरी तेरी याद में निहा तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा तेरी तेरी याद में निहा तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा तेरी यादों का तेरी याद में निहा
Sorry, guys, I was muted there. So we'll try this again. Welcome to actually WNBA and MLB DFS Pre-Lock Live. Pete Cole here. I'm here with Walter Waddell. He's going to come on after me. So we're going to try to hit two sports within the next probably 45 minutes or so. So we have time to get your lineups in for MLB. But so welcome, everybody. WNBA starts at 2 p.m. It's a 3-game slate, 2 p.m. Eastern. We start at 105, the normal Sunday. YourFillerChoice.com. $35 a month, the first 6 months, all sports included. Big day today. I know we have NASCAR going on. Said MLB, WNBA. So let's just get right to it and get rid of all the nonsense. And first of all, MLB. I'm gonna do it first, and then Walter come on right after me. Weather. So we do have some weather, which I didn't realize that until just a little while ago. In the Detroit game, and I actually was looking at some pitching here, but the latest I just saw a tweet out from Kevin Roth. There is some possibilities of a delay. Let me see. Another update just came out. So they're lowering their risk. The radar's quiet, but there's still a chance for delay. And Jake Odorizzi is actually in some talks for SP2. Obviously going to get up against Detroit, so we want to pay attention to that as we get closer to lock. And what time that game is starting? That's actually 1:10 p.m. game. So we'll update that in Discord before lock. All right. So our cheat sheet has been updated like an hour ago. It'll be updated again before lock. Not much has really changed, but first of all, Vegas. Toronto, of course, again, the highest implied. They actually open up at 7-1, which is real high. I haven't seen 7 quite a while, but they're down to 6-5. But there's nobody even close to them. Milwaukee's at 5-3, and the Reds are at 5-2. But I am noticing, though, on some of this projections we're seeing that Toronto is kind of a lot of people fading Toronto today, it looks like. So we'll get through that as we go around the bases real quick. Okay, so pitching right now. It's a crazy day for pitching. We got 4 aces that are actually going today. So we got to decide who we want to use for our SP1, or we're going to use both of them, or go elite and then value. But we have Max Scherzer, of course, going today against Miami. I think he's by far the top play of the day. And our projections are looking at it right now, too. We're looking at Scherzer around 48, 50% owned. And that's what I'm seeing everywhere. So, I mean, he's stands out above everybody. Another great season he's having. 219 ERA, 12.24 K per 9 in his first 14 starts, and he gets another elite matchup against the Marlins here. Marlins can't hit righty pitchers. The 20th in WRC plus, 7th highest strikeout rate in that split. Plus, he's got the lowest implied runs, 3.1 runs on the slate. So if you're running cash, which is what we're talking about, your SP1 is going to be Scherzer. The thing is, how are we going to deal with SP2? I'm going back and forth all day on this. So right now, the projections are showing two guys in the high 20s, Brady Singer and Jake Odorizzi. First of all, Singer, personally, I can't use Singer right now in a cash game. Just I've watched his last couple starts. The one start, he got pulled after like 4 innings with his shoulder stiffness. The last game he came out, I think that was the Yankee game, when he didn't even make it through the 5th inning because he got wild, was walking batters like crazy. He's in a decent spot against Texas, and his salary is only $6K. But looking at his logs, I mean, he had 8 points. The game before that, 5.75. The game before that, 17 against Oakland. That scares me, though. So I think there may be enough value today where we don't have to go that way. But he is going to catch some ownership. He's going to catch some love because of that price. For me, if I'm going to go down that low and the weather stays where we want it, I'm probably going to end up with like a Jake Odorizzi. I mean, is Odorizzi a great pitcher anymore? No. I think he's a little bit safer, though, than Brady Singer is. He's going against the Tigers. Is a team we always pick on. The Tigers, obviously are hitting better than they were earlier in the season. But if you look at Tigers versus righties, they're striking out 25% of the time. WRC plus only 104, 173 ISO, which is low. I'm probably going to end up with Odorizzi. Tigers got a small implied. Their implied today is like 3.9. So the thing is that Odorizzi, he doesn't last too deep into games either, though. But I think he is safer than Springer. So I'm probably going to try to avoid both of them. And if I can get enough value, I'm going to end up with probably another higher price SP2 personally. And that's either going to be Sandy Alcantara of Miami and game stack that Miami Nationals game, or end up going with a guy like Zach Wheeler after seeing the Mets lineup just came out. So Wheeler's 10-3. I'm starting to see some ownership push toward Wheeler. I mean, he's had an awesome season beside that one blip his last game. And I would just I wouldn't be worrying about that too much. So I don't know. I think right now I'm leaning if I can, like a max Wheeler, or I'm going to end up a max Alcantara and take it from there. I mean, it's going to be close, but I think, obviously, Alcantara's a little bit cheaper, so I would rank him probably max Alcantara Wheeler, and then use Garrett Cole as our high price pivot in GPPs. That's what I'm looking at. All right, so our cheat sheet will update again before 1, so you may see some changes. But right now you got Cole and Wheeler pretty much, and Alcantara priced around 15%. 15% ownership. So, which actually may be good because it may spread the ownership out a little bit, so we don't have everybody using the same 2 pitchers. But right now, I'm either going to play Alcantara or Zach Wheeler as my SP2, and then probably try to price down for the rest of my bats. All right, so that's what we're looking at pitching. Any other spots that we can go with for GPPs? I mean, it seems like it's either elite pitchers today or a bunch of scrubs. I don't mind Marcus Stroman against the Phillies, especially if with Bryce out again. I don't mind going there. But then you got a bunch of scrubs going today. You got guys like Chichi Gonzalez, who's a gas can for Colorado. You got Jordan Lyles. We all know he's a gas can for Texas. This kid for Kyle Muller's making his starting pitching debut for the Braves. So I like some Reds today in Great American Ballpark, Hitman Park. So it seems like we either got elite pitchers or we have a bunch of scrubs going. Abiato for St. Louis is terrible. We all know how J.A. Happ is. He's terrible. And on the other end, Hench is just as bad as the lefty. So it's kind of like either one spectrum or the other on pitching. All right, so let's go around the bases quickly and kind of follow how our cheat sheet is. first catching. First of all, Gary Sanchez is not playing today, not in the starting lineup. So it looks like Higashioka is catching for the Yankees, and Sanchez was actually catching a lot of love earlier today, especially the way he's been hitting. But we don't have to worry about that. So I'm assuming right now the popular play is going to be Ryan Jeffers. He was a popular play yesterday until the game got rained out. Jeffers crushing lefties, batting 344 against lefties this year, 438 ISO, 477 Woba, and Henches has been terrible. So, and he's not going to break the bank. He's not that expensive. He's batting fifth today at $3. He's only $3K, so he definitely is the play. If you want to go up a little bit, I don't mind Tyler Stevenson because he's batting cleanup. But he's 4-5, but he's still going up against this kid making his debut. The Reds hit lefties really well. Especially Stevenson, who was actually crushed lefties, 333 ISO, 413 Woba. So, but that's kind of high price. So for GBPs, no problem going to Stevenson. Is Max Stassi catching today? But I do see that the Angels lineup is out. No Max Stassi, so never mind. I also like Stassi. And any kind of punts? One punt I was looking at this morning. The Cleveland line just came out. It's Rene Rivera. He's 2.9, so you might as well go to Jeffers at 3K. But for GPPs, I don't mind Rene Rivera when I saw that 54% hard contact rate against lefties, which J Happ is. So don't sleep on Rene Rivera today. It's kind of a low-owned punt catcher. All right, so that's pretty much it for catchers. Jacob Stallings maybe against Oviedo, but now he's batting fifth. Colin Moran's back in the cleanup spot, which I kind of like. There's a lot of catchers. Yachty, GPP, of course, Salvi Perez, GPP at 5.3. So if you're playing cash, it's going to be all about, it looks like, Ryan Jeffers in the catcher spot and then everybody else, especially because he's so cheap. Tom Murphy, here's another one. Tom Murphy. Tom Murphy kind of went by me too. I guess you can run Tom Murphy at 3.3 as long as he is catching. I don't think that Seattle lineup is out yet. Let me look, but so I'd rank him Jeffers, Salvi, and then probably a guy like Tom Murphy, who I think is actually a sneaky catching play today. All right, so that's catching. Once again, I'm only talking cash here. So first base, looking at our projections, of course, Vlad is running up. He's only 18%. Trey Mancini is below him, and now Trey Mancini is not in the starting lineup for Baltimore today, which kind of actually gives an upgrade to the Toronto pitcher, Ross Stripling, who hasn't been pitching too bad. So if you have the money, though, you play Vlad. The problem is it's going to be tough to pay for Vlad, especially if you're going with Max and then another high-priced pitcher. Freeman is sitting there $300 cheaper, but I guess you can go Freeman with Vlad if you end up going like a Brady Singer or Odorizzi. I mean, both those guys definitely crush. I just lean to Vlad just because he's got homers in 3 straight games. He's got a hit in 15 of his last 16 games. He's better against righties on the reverse, definitely. 363 batting average, 391 ISO. And then you got Freddie facing Tyler Mahle in a hitter's park. And Freddie's having a big June. But I would lean Vlad. If I'm not going to pay up, and you may think I'm crazy again, but I may end up going all the way down to Colin Moran again at top 2.9. Moran's going to break out of this slump eventually. I'm a big Moran guy, especially when he bats clean up, when he's this cheap, and when he is going up against a lefty. I mean, a righty like Oviedo. Moran's whole career, he's crushed righties. And even this year, he's got 359 WOBA, but he's not hitting that well. I'm just looking at his logs. Yesterday, he had a double. The day before that, he had a hit. So the day before that, he actually had a hit in two ribbies. So he's hitting, but he's not hitting for a lot of power. But I kind of love actually Moran at 2.9. If you don't like Moran, as I know a lot of people are going to shrug at that, the other kind of cashy play I would look at, if you can't get the Vlad or Freeman, is probably Ryan Mountcastle for Baltimore, who's batting third today against Stripling. Mountcastle is actually having a really big June. 2 for 4 2 days ago, 1 for 2 before that. So Mountcastle's cheap. You could use him. Luke Voigt is right there in the middle of the order, right, for the Yankees. Batting third, but now he's at the 4-4 against Erod. But it's a lefty. Voigt can handle him. Bobby Bradley for Cleveland And Bobby Bradley's batting fifth. He's at his price up to 470 is Jay Happ. I mean, first baseman's kind of stacked, but they're all pricey. And he's crushed lefties. And, he's only been around for 2 months, but 545 ISO, 545 Wnba, 452 ISO. Huge numbers for this young kid against Happ. But if I can get the Vlad and Freddie, I'm probably going to drop all the way down to like Colin Moran or maybe even like a Ryan Mountcastle, something like that. All right, so that's first base. Anybody else up there? I guess Nate Lau. Yeah, that's it. So he's going to be mid price or high price or drop all the way down. All right, second base right now. Our ownership is, of course, Marcus Semien is going to catch all the ownership over 20% on DK. If I can get to him, wait, is that what's Semien's price? I got a mix up here. Semien's price did not drop. Yeah, he's 5'6". So Semien's a top play if you can get up there. It's going to be tough once again with these pitchers. He's leading off again. He's 18 homers on a season, 260 ISO against righties. I don't mind him. Another guy like actually leading off for Cincinnati is Jonathan India. He's 4.7, so he's like $1,000 cheaper than Semien. Since he's been leadoff spot, he's reached base in 9 straight games. Plus, he's got a positive platoon against Muller making his debut. So I have no problem going to India. Kiki Hernandez may actually. Kiki's leading off at 3-1. So actually now I'm starting Kiki maybe to play at 3-1. Going up against Cole. He actually can hit a guy like Cole. If not, we have a punt play with this Domingo Leyba. I guess we could. You got a guy like Leyba, possibly. So second base is going to be tough unless you go up to like an India or Semien. But there is enough punts or values where you can go. Maybe even Jeff McNeil if you don't use Wheeler. He's leading off. So Kiki looks interesting against Cole, actually. So I got a feeling you're going to see some ownership on Kiki at 3-1. Another guy I didn't mention at first base, which is weird, is Danny Santana, who's batting ninth at Red Sox. He's got a BVP against Cole, which is 8 for 12 lifetime. That's crazy. So 12 at-bats against Garrett Cole. He's got 8 hits. So if you're looking for a GPP play as a punt, he's only 2.5. You can use Santana as first base for the outfield. It wouldn't be playing him in cash, but obviously he's hit him before. All right, so nobody really else at second base. I'm looking at this Dominic Leyba. I wouldn't mind using him, especially at that price. It can get us down. Maybe we can pay up somewhere else. Oh, one more is David Fletcher. Forgot about Fletcher. David Fletcher is leading off today for the Angels, and he's 2-3. So he's also on a 11-game hit streak. So Fletcher actually is your punt play against Ryan Yarbrough in Tampa. So sorry about that. So I would be playing like a David Fletcher or paying all the way up for a Semien. So I don't think you can get the Semien today. It's going to be tough. All right, so that's second base today in cash. Moving around to third base. The popular play is probably going to be Josh Donaldson on Minnesota's lineup is out. Where's Donaldson in the lineup? Donaldson's batting second against Sam Hench's great spot. He's crushed lefties his whole career. 943 OPS, 400 Wnba across his entire career against lefties. So Josh Donaldson, probably one of the popular plays. Our projections are showing Donaldson, J. Ram, and Biggio all between 15 and 18%. So I'd probably lean Donaldson. I'm not a Donaldson guy, but obviously he's in a really good spot today. I don't love it, but there's really not too many other places we can go unless we go down to Eugenio Suarez, I guess. This is his type of matchup. Should have played him the other day. I'm going against this rookie Muller, and he's batting fifth at 4.3. So Suarez kind of sneaks in there also. I wouldn't mind using Suarez actually today at third. Yeah, it'd probably be Suarez. I'm not sure if we can get to Josh Donaldson. This Abraham Toro, he is in play. He continues to hit. He's batting 7 today. Switch hitter against Skubal. He's up to 3.4, but that's not a bad price. So I think it's gonna be Suarez. Anybody else I like would be, you can use Wander Franco. You can use Key Brian Hayes, who I think is an awesome hitter. I don't think Pittsburgh's lineup is out yet, unless it just came out. Actually, it is out. You got Hayes batting second today. So, yeah, I don't mind running Hayes, but he may be a little bit too expensive for today's slate. And Kevon Biggio, who's going to pick up some love, but he just isn't hitting. Where's Biggio batting today? Biggio's batting sixth against the righty Lopez. He just needs to start hitting and wake up. He's eventually gonna. Positive regression's coming, but I don't have time to mess right now with him and his slumps. And the same with Urshela for the Yankees. He should be in the middle of the order. He's batting fifth today. Not a bad spot against Erod at 3-2, but he's not hitting either. So if anything, I'd rather go with a guy like Suarez, who hit a bomb today in Cincinnati in a good hitter's park against a rookie pitcher. But don't be surprised if you see Urshela get some ownership batting fifth before the projections are over before lock. And we still got a big game from Wander Franco eventually here coming too. So eventually. All right, so that's third base. So right now, just to recap a quick first base, we're looking at either a guy like a Vlad, or we're going to drop all the way down to a guy like Moran. Second base, we're looking at a guy like Semien, or drop down to a Fletcher or Kiki. Third base, I'm looking at Suarez. Suarez is my top play, or go up to a Josh Donaldson. And now shortstop. Everybody's in love with Gleyber Torres today as shortstop, mainly because of he's down to 3-2 now. But Gleyber Torres, like the rest of these Yankees, he's hitting sixth. Great spot, platoon advantage over Erod, who Erod's kind of falling apart here. But Torres just isn't hitting. He's, if anything, he'll go 1 for 4, then 0 for 4, 1 for 5. But Torres is going to catch love today at 3-2. I'd like to go against the masses and go somewhere else. It may be tough. There's not that many guys that are really cheap down there. Freddie Galvis, possibly. No, Freddie Galvis is not even in the starting lineup today, so we can take Galvis out. So Torres is probably the cheapest we can go. And if anything, you got Ahmad Rosario at 4K, who I'm definitely a Rosario guy. I'm just not sure if we can get up to him, but he's batting second against Hap with the platoon advantage. Or you go up to these high-paced guys like Correa, Semien, Bo Bichette. But if you're running 2 high-priced pitchers, you probably can't get there. I think out of all of them, my favorite play is probably Correa, batting fifth. He's batting fifth today against Skubal. Skubal gives up hard contact, gives up a lot of fly balls. Correa's just been crushing. We see 8 homers, 380 batting over the last 30 days. But same with Bichette. You can play Semien there. These are mostly GPP plays, I said, unless you go down to a guy like Odorizzi or a Brady Singer as your SP2, which is going to be tough. But I would probably play out of all of them Correa. I'd probably rank him Correa, Semien, and then Bo Bichette at shortstop. Dande's asking Rosario or Polanco GPP. But GPP, I would go Polanco because he's got the pop. He can hit you 2 home runs. I love Rosario in cash, especially now that he's in the number 2 hole. Since he went in the number 2 hole, he's just thrived. He's hitting 280 over his last 30 days. But Polanco is the type of guy that can lose one today against Henches. And he's batting leadoff. He's the type of guy that can lead off the game at home run. So, yeah, Polanco and GPP, definitely. On DK, Seattle with Chicago with no stats because that game's on DK now. They pulled that, I believe. The Seattle-Chicago game. All right, so that's shortstop. Let's go to outfield. Maybe this is where we can find some value. In outfield, first of all, Galloway, Springer's going to be popular. Biggio's going to be popular in the outfield, these Blue Jays. Nelson Cruz is going to be popular. I actually see Nelson Cruz's drop below 5K. You get Cruz at home against the lefty, which is Henches. He's got a lifetime 300 batting average, 324 ISO lifetime at home against lefties. Cruz is definitely in play. Nicky Castellanos is probably my favorite play in the outfield today, going up against the rookie. He's just leads NL in batting, 65% hard contact against lefties. That's crazy. 281 ISO, 439 Wnba, 359 batting average. To me, Nicky Castellanos is the top play in the outfield. He's below 5K. So he's a lock to me. He's a core play. Other guys in that same area, you got Tio Hernandez is crushing for Toronto. Springer is still cheap. He's got at least 12 fantasy points in back-to-back games. Judge is up there, Stanton up there. I don't think you want to go that high today with the pitching, but if you're gonna, I would probably lean Judge. And then you got a bunch of these cheaper guys. Tyler O'Neill is always popular against a righty. He's a good reverse splits hitter, better than he has actually on the positive platoon. Brian Reynolds, always a safe cash play. I like Reynolds a lot today. And then probably my favorite is probably Gregory Polanco for Pittsburgh. And Polanco hit a bomb. Yeah, he hit a bomb yesterday. He's a good spot again today against Oviedo. So I made up with a guy like Polanco, but he's only 2.6 in my starting lineup, and that's going to be able to get me to some of these other guys, some of the other pitchers. Miles Straw, I think, is a decent punt also. He's batting second today against Scooble at 2.8. Akil Baddoo is leading off today. He's below 3K. I consider him a cash play against Odorizzi if you don't pitch Odorizzi. And then the kid for Minnesota, Larnach, is 2.7 batting cleanup after Nelly Cruz before Jeffers. Good spot for him. So there's plenty of value to go today. You don't have to pay up for the Acuna. For the Judges and the Acunas and the Stantons. I would start with Castellanos, then work my way down. If you get to Nelly Cruz, great. But it's going to be tough probably getting to him if you want to go, one of the other bigger price bats at first or somewhere else. But there's plenty of value today to go. I'm assuming the popular play is going to be Tyler O'Neill, Polanco, and Nicky C, which I'm kind of leaning towards too. But I look at projections before lock and see if anything changes. It would be nice to get another like a Toronto bat name with those 4K guys. All right, so that's my favorite outfield. It's pretty much the way the projections are looking. Springer is the highest at 22, but he's still only 4.1, and then Nelly at 4.9. But he's a lefty at home. All right, so that is the outfield. We went this pretty quick. My top stacks today is pretty much everybody's top stacks. We got the Blue Jays, of course, Reds against a rookie pitcher. Astros today against Detroit and Tarek Skubal. Skubal is either going to shut him out or he's going to give up 12 runs. So they're my three favorite stacks. Let me just run through kind of the cash. He top plays quick pitching, looking at Max, and then either like a Wheeler or Alcantara or Odorizzi as your two. Catcher Jeffers. First base is going to be like a Vlad or drop all the way down to a Moran or Mountcastle. Second base, I'm looking at actually a guy like Fletcher because he's really cheap and he's on an 11-game hitting streak and may get him somewhere else. But if not, we can go all the way up to like a Marcus Semien or Altuve. Third base, I'm looking at Suarez or maybe drop all the way down to Urshela. Shortstop, I'm sorry, I missed the name actually. Shortstop, Polanco. I'm glad you said that, Don Days. Polanco's only 4.3. He's cheaper than I thought he was. So I think Polanco, if you don't want to use Torres, you can get to Polanco. Polanco may be is a decent play as shortstop if not going to Torres. All the Zhang's 3K. And then the outfield, we just mentioned them. Nicky C, Springer, O'Neill, Polanco, all those guys. All right, and prize picks. And you guys playing prize picks. I just have two right now. I'll try to post one more before lock. But I got Max Scherzer over 8.5Ks. And I got Nelly Cruz over 1.5 total bases. They should both get their ESA. You could actually power play that or whatever, however they call it, the power play. They should both get that easy. All right. That's it. They're really quick. I'm going to turn this over. Are you ready, Walter? In terms of WNBA now, my man Walter Riddell is jumping on. Good luck today. Good luck, guys, today. Good luck, Walter, WNBA. Thank you, Mickey, the producer, and I'm done.
Hey, what's up, everybody? WNBA portion of the show. Pete, the super hard working man. He's wearing a damn jacket out there in hot Florida. He's making fun of me this morning because we're dealing with 90-degree heat in Washington, which is just not good for us. We're typically, dealing with overcast and 65 to 70. So it's actually projected here at 108 tomorrow. So I can't wear a hoodie like Pete. He's a lot tougher than I am. With that being said, let's talk some WNBA. We have a 3-game slate here, one of the bigger slates of the week. If you guys are looking for some extra action, or you're bored with the NBA playoffs, or you want something addition to the MLB or NASCAR Sunday, jump in and maybe play that $15 2K to first GBP. See if you can, get some good upside and hit some money today. First game on the slate, Chicago Sky versus Connecticut Sun. The total on that one's 157.5. We have the Sky minus 4.5, minus 190 on the money line. This is a game in which Connecticut's going to be, again, without Jonquel Jones, their big star. She's still over in Eurobasket doing her thing there. Players to know, Dewana Bonner and Brianna Jones are their top two currently with Jonquel Jones out. Bonner's 11-3, which is going to be very tough. The pricing on DK today is pretty tough up top, but there is several value options that we can use. So you can use her if you want. Bonner's typically good for 40, locked in. Chicago's defense is much tougher than what they typically see. I know just a couple games ago in Chicago, she did have a big 40-plus game. But I'm typically going to probably pay down at guard today just because there is some value, which we'll talk about here shortly. I do like Brianna Jones quite a bit at 9.7 for GPPs. I never really thought I'd pay that price for her. It does feel high, but she's getting all that Jonquel Jones usage. You see her last two games, she's taken 32 shots total, back-to-back 30s. One of those was against Chicago in which she scored 36. So 2 years ago, Jones was like 4.7. She's coming off the bench. There was a lot of upside with her, and now she's a big star. So I think I will be looking to use her in a tougher matchup against Chicago where I think the guards may struggle. All week, we've been using Kayla Charles. I should say last week. She was 5K, 5.5, scoring 39, 20, 21. She scored 20-plus fantasy points in 4 straight, 2 of which were against the same Chicago team. She's 7K now on DraftKings, so the price is a little bit higher, but she's still really good play. She's actually second on ownership projections as well, so she's going to be highly owned if you're playing cash games or you need to block out people in your head-to-heads, whatnot. Kayla's definitely somebody you want to play in your lineups. She's really kind of hand-sended a bit. With Jonquel out, she's taken a lot of that usage. They've been grooming her to be, one of their better players coming up once Bonner, ends up retiring. So I still like her at the 7K price, and it's definitely a doable, price tag. I like her better than someone like Jasmine Jones. If it was 8K, it's kind of, we're waiting on a breakout game from her, but I don't think I'll be using her today. And then even value like Breanne January, Natasha Heidemann, and McCannon are all there as well. But really, like I said, it's Kayla Charles as your number one Connecticut play, and then Brianna Jones for your GBPs. Chicago side, they've been beating the pants off of teams since Candace Parker has returned. I think they're on a 7-game winning streak. The prices on them are all, pretty fair. There's not a lot of value. Their rotation has been extended recently. Candace Parker's 10.5, Courtney Vandersloot's 10.1. Both are good for 30-35. If the game stays close, you could be looking at a 40-50 from each. But I just like a little bit more of the other options. This feels like it may turn out to be a little bit more of a, slow pace, rock fight, physical type of game where scoring may be down. I always like Diamond DeShields. She's there at 7.5. I thought I was going to use her. She did score 30 against Connecticut recently, just a couple games ago, but her upside seems a little capped right now with Candace Parker. Rebounds may be hard to come by, which is where she gets a lot of her value with the bigs that are out there for Chicago or for Connecticut. They're a good rebounding team. So really, I'm not using anyone in Chicago too much unless it was Diamond DeShields. You do have Stephanie Dolson, who starts at 6K. And then for value, Azira Stevens at 5'8", or Ruthie Hebert there at 6'6". They all kind of have a wide range of outcomes, but they're cheap enough that you can take shots on if you want. The game of the day is going to be Seattle Storm versus Las Vegas Aces. The total is 170. It's a full 13 points higher than any other game on the slate. The Vegas is actually favored. They're minus 2.5. Should be more like a pick 'em. These two teams played the first 2 games of the season earlier. Storm beat the hell out of them in the first game. The second game, Vegas kind of whacked them back. Those games were in Seattle. So this one's going to be, fast-paced, lots of points, and I really think it's going to come down, who's hitting their shots, obviously, but and stays out of foul trouble, which is something that we've seen both teams struggle with throughout the year. For Seattle, Brianna Stewart's projecting super high owned, which is pretty typical. She's projecting like 60%, which on a 3-game slate, that's wild. I would expect that on a 2-gamer, but 3 games, I think leverage-wise, you could probably fade Brianna Stewart, especially in your GPPs. That's not chalk that I think you should eat if you're playing those, large field GPPs. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So, going to someone like a Brittany Griner, who we'll talk about in a second, or even on the other side for Vegas, Liz Cambage, who I love all the time, Asia Wilson, some players like that, who have the same floor typically and upside of Brianna Stewart. So if they get Stewie in foul trouble, she's having a bad shooting day, whatever might happen, you've got yourself a little bit of leverage there. And 11.5s are really, that's the max price. I haven't seen anyone go over 11.5 yet in WNBA. If she hits 40, it's really not that impressive. So I don't know. With her seeing that ownership, I'm probably going to back off her a bit. But she's a great play. So don't get me wrong. I'm a big leverage guy. When you're playing cash games head-to-head, you probably need Stewie. If you're fading Stewart, it would make a lot of sense to go to someone like Jewel Lloyd, who at 9.5. Earlier this season, she had a couple 30s against Vegas. She's been pretty consistently hitting that number. When games are close, you see the last one against the Mystics in which they lost by 4. She had 44 fantasy points. Then they had a bunch of blowout wins in between there against Connecticut, Indiana, and Atlanta. Now there's a close game, so Lloyd, who will be low owned, projecting under 15%, she's got the upside to even surpass somebody like Breanna Stewart. So I definitely like Lloyd quite a bit. There's just a lot of upside there with that ownership. And then value-wise, Mercedes Russell at 6'2" is interesting. She was not available for the first 2 games against Vegas. She was still overseas. She's going to be tasked with probably guarding Liz Cambage. So the 2 things are going to happen. She's either going to get into quick foul trouble or she's going to give Liz trouble with her length. Russell's a very underrated defender. She's typically been guarding the other team's best front court player, which is a role Natasha Howard used to do last year, which allows Stewie to not exert as much energy on the defensive end. Problem with Vegas, they have A'ja Wilson, the reigning MVP, so they have 2 really strong front court players. So Stewie's going to have to guard one. She did guard A'ja in their last game. Obviously, like I said, Mercedes didn't play, so I think that she'll be on Liz, and she should do pretty well at 6'2". Normally on a normal 3-4 game slate, Russell would be really good value. But we have some other stuff going on with this Sparks game, which we'll talk about in a second, that probably makes Russell, far from a lock. Katie Lou Samuelson at 5'2". She's one of those plays that you can roll out there because she's going to play 20 to 25 minutes. Recently, it's been a bunch of blowouts, so she hasn't played quite as much. I'd like to see her shoot more. She's capable of getting hot from long range. Her upside's probably a little low, but at 5'2", you're looking at 3x typically for value in cash games and single entry. She can definitely get you 15 to 20, and you're feeling pretty happy with that. So I do like Katie Lou. She's projecting way low owned because of the value. Her sister's on the slate as well. Looks like people are going to be on her. So I'm a fan of Katie Lou here. I think her scoring will be needed to keep up with the Vegas players. With this slate, you have 2 options. You're going to want to play one of these Aces stars. It's A'ja Wilson at 11.4, basically max price like Breanna Stewart, or who I prefer, Liz Cambage at 10.6. So a $900 discount to go to Liz. She's typically going to score right around that 30 to 35 as well, and that's what A'ja does. I know both went over 50 in their last game against Minnesota, which was the wild game. I believe that one went to overtime as well. If people are going to A'ja, let's look at some ownership here. Okay, it looks like A'ja is actually going to be the lower owned. They have her at 10% and Cambage at 19%. So they're pretty close. So to me, I think you have to play one in every lineup. So if the rest of the industry is thinking you can just fade them, that makes me want to play both. If you're running multiples, obviously split them. If you can only run one lineup, I'm still going with Liz Cambage, even though she does project a little bit higher. She's a better 3-point shooter than A'ja. She's like a point forward. There's in her last game against Minnesota, she was bringing the ball up several times in the fast break, kicking it out, dropping dimes, getting assists. So she's a lot more, multifaceted in the game of basketball as opposed to A'ja, who doesn't really have an outside shot and is a little more limited on the block. So Cambage can take people down low, or she can bring whoever ends up guarding her, I think Russell, out to the 3-point line. So I just feel like this could be a big Cambage game. She's also a really good shot blocker. So that's my favorite play here. Everybody else in the Aces is good GPP plays at their guards. Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, and De'Arica Hamby. They're all super, wide range of outcomes, especially Jackie Young, the former #1 pick from a couple years ago. She could very easily put up 40. She did have a 40 against Seattle earlier this season. But if you look through her logs and some of the other games, she has a tendency, especially recently, to kind of disappear from games. So it is a game where it wouldn't surprise me if Jackie Young put up 40 at 2%. I'm not super confident about her, but she would be my favorite guard play out of that group, where it looks like someone like Kelsey Plum at 7'6", who's been hot lately, is drawing some additional ownership right below Liz Cambage. But like I said, Wilson or Cambage, get one of those ladies into your lineup. Every single lineup you run should have Vegas front court player in it. Expect a 80, 90, 100-point type of game here with possible overtime. And the last game on the slate is LA versus Phoenix. Now, this is where we're going to be able to get a lot of value. You guys heard me talking about that just a second ago. The Sparks, we'll start with them. And real quick, total's 156, lowest on the slate. The Mercury are -6.5. I think they could wind up easily beating that with all the injuries that the Sparks have. It's actually gone down a half point since I've started talking on Bovada. We know that Mogulke sisters are out, and Nneka and Shanae, they're both still out. But now Bria Holmes, who's one of their best bench guards, is questionable to play today. She's dealing with a foot injury. She barely played in their last game. And then Christy Tolliver is also dealing with an injury today. She got poked in the eye or something, her cornea scratched, so she may not play. And even if she does, she's going to be very limited. You see that game against her former team in the Mystics, she was playing horribly before the injury happened. She ended up not even playing in the fourth quarter. So what that means is we're going to have a lot of plays here on the Sparks, similar to the Mystics. The Mystics yesterday had, 5-6 injuries. They ran a 7-player rotation. Looking at the Sparks here, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 at best. And their rookie, Aurelia Garantes, they barely play. She's really having a hard time with the speed of the WNBA. So I think at worst, you're looking at a 7-player rotation. So you're definitely going to want Sparks players in your lineup. Even if they get blown out, all of them are going to have to play big minutes. These two teams just played each other a week and a half ago twice. The first game, the Sparks won by 5. They had a really nice 85-80 win. In the second game, they got blown out 66-80. So I really feel like it's probably going to be a blowout. I'm going to be avoiding Amanda Mlb at 8-2. She struggled in their loss against the Mercury. She was in foul trouble. She actually fouled out in 19 minutes, but she's been a big fouler against players like Brittany Griner, like Nafisa Collier, Sylvia Fowles, Candace Parker. Anytime she has to face an elite big like a Griner, she just can't seem to stop fouling. So I'm not going to be using her. Nia Coffey would be likely to play if you want that Sparks front court exposure. She's playing 30-plus minutes a game. Problem with Coffey is she's been a role player her entire career. And then she came over to Sparks with all these injuries. They asked her, to take more shots, higher usage player. She did okay. But now scouting reports out on her, and you see she's only hit 20 fantasy points once in her past 6. So I'm not really comfortable with her either. It's really the guards. Carly Samuelson, who's Katie Lou's sister, she's 4-3 on this slate. Saw the last 2 games, she's played 16 and 20 minutes. She had a nice 18.5 fantasy point game last time where she knocked down 3 triples. She's going to have to play. She may even start. If Tolliver ends up being out, we could end up seeing her start. It's likely going to be Taya Cooper, but Samuelson should play 20 to 25 minutes at 4-3. That's a pretty much a must play. You guys always hear me talking about leverage when talking college basketball, TBT, whatever it is. I'm going to eat that chalk because it's 4-3. What's the worst that could happen? She gets an 8. As long as your pay-ups do well, you're going to be just fine. And then Taya Cooper. Taya Cooper was suspended 1 game recently against Phoenix. She's come back from the suspension. Her first 2 games, she barely played. I don't know if that was, Derek Fisher sending her a message or what. Against the Mystics in a hard-fought win, 89-82, she played 27 minutes. She had to play extra because of the Tolliver injury. She took 15 shots, which is a career high. She's actually taken 10-plus shots in 3 of her last 5, and she had 40 fantasy points, which is a career high as well, and a career 26 points. She's going to be looking to score. The Sparks don't have a lot of creators right now. All of their best players hurt. So I would look for Cooper's usage to be very high, 30-plus easily. That last game coming in the fourth quarter against the Mystics, she had a 33.5% usage rate, which was amazing. So I definitely like her. She's 6'9". I would like her to be a little cheaper, obviously, but we're not going to get that. The fact that she's still under 7K makes her pretty high owned on the projections as well. She's 3rd on the list behind Brianna Stewart and Kayla Charles. So Cooper is another chalky type player that I want to use. If you want exposure to Sparks and you don't want to be, chalky and owning a 50% player on a 3-game slate, look at Erica Wheeler, 8'6". It's the highest she's been all year. She has legit 40 to 50 point upside, though. She did score 44 and 25 against Phoenix in their past 2 games. So very high upside for her. She's a big-time assist dropper. You see, for 2 of her last 4, she's been over 10 assists. She's averaging 13 and 5 on the season now, 25 fantasy points. I think that she could very easily hit 30-plus today based off of volume. She's a double-digit shot taker, and her assist rate, which is dishing to Cooper, Zowie B, and Samuelson. And then Brittany Sykes is the other player for the Sparks you could look at. She's 7'3". She's going to be thrust into a lot of minutes, at least 30, I would guess. Played 27 to 30 in back-to-back games. She's one of the better on-ball defenders in the league. She has a very high steal rate. She's averaging almost 2 assists per game, or 2 steals per game, excuse me. Against New York, she had 7 steals alone. And then she had 2 very solid games against the same Mercury team a week and a half ago, one of 30 and one of 23. So Sykes is another player lower owned on the projections there. You can definitely play her or Wheeler if you want to be off the chalkier Cooper and Samuelson. Mercury side, if this turns into a blowout like I think, I'm not sure that I want to pay the 11-2 for Griner. Initially, when I was making lineups this morning, I thought, yeah, I'm going to lock in Griner, but it just doesn't seem to be working out. I would be very perturbed if she puts up one of her 30 to 35 games, which is fine. It's not a killer, but you really want 50 to 60 from her, which she's totally capable of. 3 of her last 5, she's been over 46 fantasy points. Definitely, you know, she put up 47 against LA just a week ago. The game after that was a blowout. She put up 30. So that's what worries me. I think we could be looking at an 80 to 60 type of win for the Mercury, where Griner just lets everybody else do it. She kind of, doesn't play enough minutes and doesn't hit value. Also, Diana Taurasi is expected back today. She's been out for the past month with a chest injury. That's going to throw a wrench into the Mercury's rotation. It's going to take usage out of Griner's hands. It's going to take usage out of Skylar Diggins-Smith's hands. So Diggins-Smith, 10-3, she's a great play typically without Taurasi. But now Taurasi's back, she's a 9K player. So she's 1,300 overpriced. I can't play her either. I don't know even how many minutes Taurasi's going to play. They haven't said if she's going to be on a minutes cap. Obviously, being out a month, I wouldn't expect her to jump into a 35-minute role. And they're playing a team that they can easily dispatch of by 20-plus points. So we could see Taurasi, play 15 minutes. Could see her play 28. Makes her an interesting GPP play. I wouldn't personally do it. I think if I was going to use anyone here, it'd be Brianna Turner at 8-4. She's blowout proof. She's not affected by Taurasi at all. Typically going to see 30 to 35 minutes as that kind of, secondary forward in the post when Griner needs a break. They play together as well. She's a very good shot blocker. She steals. She's averaging 8 points, 8 rebounds right now. So just a very solid player overall that at 8.4K, if she gives us 25 to 30 fantasy points, you're feeling pretty good. So that would be my exposure. With Taurasi there, though, Nurse, Megan Walker, Sophie Cunningham, who was an interesting value play for us for the last week or two, they're all off the table. None of them are really worth playing right now because of the fact that Taurasi's back. So keep that in mind if you intend to get exposure to any of them. It's really just going to be Turner, Griner, or perhaps, Taurasi if you're feeling kind of froggy there. As far as core plays go, for me, Taya Cooper, as long as Tolliver's out. Liz Cambage, she's going to be our super secret sauce of the day. And then Kayla Charles. I'm going to keep going Kayla Charles just because 7K is not quite enough in her new role without Jonk to fade her yet. When Jonquel Jones returns, then we can jump off the Kayla Charles train. But I think we have at least one more game where she can ham out for us. So a relatively chalky core, I know, but that's where we stand. As far as prize picks goes, give you guys a couple here. Diamond DeShields, she's always super low. 23.5 fantasy points. I think she can hit the over there. She's consistently hitting 25 to 28. So I'm very comfortable with her. Looking at the other ones here, excuse me, Liz Cambage at 35. That might seem high to you, but I think she hits 40 plus today. So that's my second one. And then the Erica Wheeler at 25.5 against the Mercury. Like I said, the Sparks could potentially be running a 6 to 7 man rotation. Player rotation. And if Zowie B gets into foul trouble, Wheeler's going to be, I know they play different positions, but Wheeler will be taking a lot more shots, be having to handle a lot of the usage, have to rebound and all that stuff. So 25.5 feels very low for Erica Wheeler, who's going to play 35 to 38 minutes, 7-player rotation, blowout or not. So those are the 3 prize picks plays that I really like. Run down to the rest of the day. If you guys have any questions, you can obviously jump in the Discord, the WNBA room, the premium room with those questions. I'll be around. I'll post starting lineups. I wasn't around much yesterday because of the heat. Probably not going to be super active just because of how hot it's already. But yeah, there'll be articles. Typically WNBA Mondays are off, but I'll have articles for each day after that. And then we will be getting back into Aussie content as well. Took a little break from that just because the contests weren't that great. Still grinded out. Had some good success there. So expect Aussie stuff to be coming out again. And then TBT starts in about 2.5 to 3 weeks. I do plan on doing a big-time primer for that as well as a show. Talk to Pete, see if he wants to join me on that. But another niche sport for us to win money at. So appreciate those that listen live. Best of luck out there if you decide to play today. And appreciate Mickey for producing today. Obviously, Pete, giving him a little bit break to where he doesn't have to talk so much. And yeah, Pray for me that I don't melt today. Thanks, guys. Good luck.